his 2-minute statement.
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out. This is a wonderful turnout, and appreciate the opportunity to be here. Again, just like to let everybody know the reason I decided to run. This is about the people of the district. This isn't something I'm doing for myself, but as an electrician, somebody who works every day, I know what it's like for so many people in this district, the challenges they face, what it's like to have to live within a budget. And it's that perspective that I want to take to St. Paul. I think too many times we see people that hold positions for 15, 20 years. I would like to fight for term limits, responsibility, and just making sure you're doing the will of the people.
Thank you. And incumbent Tim Faust. Tim, you're open.
Well, thank you. And I guess I'd like to start by thanking Window for their work in putting this together, Pine Technical College, and the Chamber of Commerce for all their work on this. We all show up and we think, wow, this is a great event, and we don't realize how much work it takes to put something like this together. So thank you for all of your work in putting this together. And the Student Council will also be a part in this, so thank you very much. I also want to thank all of you for coming here tonight. I'm glad that there are so many people that care enough about their city and their state that they're willing to take a beautiful Wednesday evening and come to Pine City and listen to this debate. So thank you all for coming. I'm the incumbent. I've been in office 3 terms now, non-consecutively. Hardly what I would consider a career politician, but I guess that's up to everyone's discretion as to what that means. But and I too ran because I was concerned about the direction the state of Minnesota was going. When I first ran, we had cuts in school funding, and I don't think that was the right thing to do. We had skyrocketing property taxes going up double digits every year, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. And so I was very concerned about the direction that Minnesota was going. And finally, in the last 2 years, I believe that we did a lot of the right things for Minnesota. We lowered property taxes, we increased school funding, we froze college tuition, and we did a lot of very, very good things for the state of Minnesota. And so I'm proud of what we've done in the last 2 years. Don't agree with everything that got done, but by and large, I think we had a very productive 2 years. I think you'd have a hard time arguing that it wasn't the most productive session in decades that we've had in Minnesota. So I want to go back and continue the good work that we've done and continue moving Minnesota forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, gentlemen, the first question which you've been sent in advance is this. And Jason, you're up first. As a representative from rural Minnesota, how are you going to ensure that the needs of greater Minnesota are addressed in the legislature?
As I thought about this question over the last week or so, my mind kept going back to the words of Rob Farnsworth, who was a candidate for governor back at the 8th Congressional Convention. And that is, one person cannot promise anything to people. You're one person within a group, and you have to work with the group. So you can't make a promise that you're going to lower taxes or you're going to do anything. You can't ensure anything to the people, except for one thing. And that is that you will be honest, but more so every day as I approach the Capitol, I will look across the South Lawn to the cathedral and remind myself why I'm there. This isn't about me, it's about the people. And every day as I look at the cathedral, I will say a prayer asking for the grace that I need to do God's will and the will of this district, so that I do what is right for the people of Minnesota. A lot of times doing what is right will not be popular. But with asking for strength and guidance, I believe by doing that, we will be doing what is best, not only for the people of this district, but for all the people of Minnesota. I think focusing in on that allows us to say that we are always going to be looking out for the best interests of the people.
Tim, as a representative from rural Minnesota, How are you going to ensure that the needs of Greater Minnesota are addressed in the legislature?
Well, I guess to answer that question, I'll start by saying everything and anything necessary to do so. And I think that Jason touched on one of the things, which is working across party lines. And I am one of the people that has done that in the past. It isn't something I'm just going to say, oh, I'll do that, but I've done it. One representative, a Republican representative, came up to me a few years ago and he said, Tim, you're one of the good guys. You're willing to vote against your party for the good of your district. That's what I've done down there. I'm not just saying that I'm going to do it, I've done it. And that's, I think, extremely important. When you look at the split of Democrats and Republicans from Greater Minnesota, you have to work together to get something done. In order to protect what Greater Minnesota has and needs, you have to work together to accomplish that. And so that's extremely important, that the representative from this district is willing and able to do that, and I've done it. It isn't just a promise that I'm making and I'm going to do it. I've done it. The second thing we need to do is at times you need to dig your heels in and say, if we don't get this, you're not going to have my vote on this. And the Sandstone Hospital project is a perfect example of that. I went to the bonding chair and I said, if this money isn't in there for this new hospital being built in Sandstone, they're starting next summer, if the money isn't in there for that, I'm a no vote. That's all there is to it. And I walked away. Well, from that moment on, the money was there for that project. And so because of the money that I got, that hospital project is moving forward, and likely wouldn't have been if I hadn't taken that position. And so you have to know when to work with people and when you just have to dig your heels in and say, no, this is the way we have to do it. So my promise has always been, and I've kept it simple, two promises. One is, I will always do what I believe is best for the people of this district in the state of Minnesota. Number two, if we ever have a special session, because we didn't get done on time, any per diem or extra money I get, I'll either not take it or give it to Little League baseball programs in this district. So I've kept it simple. Two promises.
Thank you. Okay, first question from the audience. Tim, this will go to you first. Minnesota is one of the 12 states that tax Social Security income as much as 7.85%. What will you do to change taxing retirees' income? I'll repeat. Minnesota is one of 12 states that tax Social Security income as much as 7.85%. And what will you do to change taxing retirees' income? Before you answer, just want you to know that come July 1. Okay, Tim.
I'm going to start by saying I'm not an expert on this issue, but I believe that this depends on how much other income somebody has coming in. And so that in order for somebody paying the 7.85%, they've got a significant amount of other income coming in. And so I think that it is something that needs to be looked at, something that I would certainly consider. And I think that other things like lowering property taxes and property tax credits so that it's helping low and middle income people, I think is actually a better use of state funds than cutting taxes on more wealthy people.
Okay, thank you. Jason, Minnesota is one of 12 states that tax Social Security income as much as 7.85%. What will you do to change taxing retirees' income?
I think the biggest thing that the legislature can do when regarding taxes is controlling spending. If we continue to grow our spending, of course taxes will have to go up to cover that. We saw that in 2013 when they increased taxes by $2.1 billion, and that was on many different things. And that was because spending increased across the board. So if we can control our spending and make the agencies be more responsible with the money they get, then we will be able to limit the amount of taxes that we put, whether it be property taxes, Social Security, income, all of it. So most important thing is spending. Just like we have to live within the budget, the state will need to live within the budget.
Okay, thank you. Jason, this will be you first. How important is it to know the details of bills that are voted on and passed the legislature?
I think that is imperative. I know they get very complicated, and it is very difficult to be up on all of the bills. But if you're going to vote on it, it is something you should know. Unfortunately, we have seen too many things that have been run through these last 2 years that have come back later and made a comment about, well, we didn't realize that was in there. License fees, seats for the stadium is a prime example. And that comes from running things through too quickly. If the legislators do not know what is in the bill, then you should take more time to look into it, to make sure we fully understand all the ramifications that will come with it. So if a bill comes through and adequate time has not been given for people to understand what is there, I will be an advocate to make sure that the vote is withheld until people have more time.
Thank you. Tim, how important is it to know the details of bills that are voted on and passed the legislature?
Yeah, I agree with Jason. I think it is very important that you know what's in the bill. What happens is that you have a bill, and some bills are several inches thick, and you spend time in caucus discussing the bill and talking about what's in it, what's not in it, what you wish was in it, and that kind of stuff. And so you spend time discussing that, and the bottom line is that you don't have time to read every bill. I wish I did. I wish I could read fast enough that I had the time to do that, but especially that last week, boy, you're going through them very fast. And so you have staff to go through and write, we'll go through and say this is what's in the bill. You'll talk to the author about what's in the bill so that you have a pretty good feel for what is in the bill. Are there small details that sneak through once in a while? Unfortunately, that is absolutely correct. And to slow down the process so you can read that, sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you need to trust the staff and the other legislators enough to say that, when they tell you this is what's in it, you trust them and believe them and move forward. So, but you have a good feel for what's in the bill. It isn't like, who was that person in Washington, D.C. that passed the bill and said, well, now we'll figure out what's in it. That's not you need to know what's in it. And that's unfortunate that sometimes that happens. I think it happens a lot in Washington, D.C. But I really don't think that happens very much in St. Paul. I think most legislators have a pretty good feel for what's in the bill.